Let's talk about filler MOs. The main reason for this video is I've seen a lot more people who are upset or tired with the game start to rally behind filler MOs being a major issue when discussing the problems in the game. While I won't deny their existence, I think it's misplaced. Filler MOs are often misunderstood, it seems. When I see Cloudplays, one of the largest Helldivers YouTubers, talking about how building the DSS was filler, I have to ask myself if this is a genuine criticism or the unrest spilling through. Also, no hate towards Cloudplays, he's just said something I disagree with. That doesn't mean I want Truth Enforcers to show up to his house, just a simple disagreement. So why don't I define what a filler MO is to me? I'll be defining a filler MO as an MO that really has nothing to do with the faction's specific goal. For example, the most recent Bugs MO, where we had to defend 9 planets from bugs. They kind of get an unfair treatment, as for the most part they have no real identity in the story and are often used as a fuel source for MOs directed at other factions, or consequently enough, the source of a filler MO. However, I don't want you thinking just because the MO is defend X amount of planets or kill X amount of enemies means it's filler, as seems to be the case with many. For example, when the Meridian Singularity was about to destroy Angel's Venture and the MO was to defend, I think it's 12 or 9 planets, this wasn't a filler MO as it had a direct relationship with the main story. Right now, the main story for the Squids really is about just the Singularity and their efforts on reviving their empire, which consequently also is the main story right now for the war. For the bots, it's conquering key asset worlds owned by Super Earth to fuel their war machine to create more and more deadly units in their arms race with Super Earth. And as stated with the bugs, they honestly haven't developed past the Gloom. It seems once the Gloom evolution story milestone dropped, the bugs have kind of just been forgotten and are often just used as, hey, we need X amount of fuel for another faction main story, and also some lore aspects of they're evolving, but we haven't seen that evolution past 2 strains, and that kind of sucks. And Super Earth, besides obviously winning the war and defending planets, often has side plots of ramping up in the arms race. However, some of these can be filler MOs in that weird gray area, such as the DSS MO, where we had to choose between mech cooldowns and rearm cooldowns for Eagles. I think the main issue is as the game develops, there are campaigns and fronts divers have tended to move towards with their preferences in mind, with Arrowhead using MOs as a way to move us around to experience new content. However, there really is no way for you to progress the story you find most interesting. So when faction story you find interesting is progressing, you are hit with a massive wall stopping the fun and having you to go fight and progress a story you probably have no investment in. For example, if you have someone who is into the automatons and really enjoy the arms race storyline with the bots, then only for that story to kind of just go into stasis for about a week or two to go do squids or bugs until the story rotates back to the bots, you can kind of check out and start to become unhappy with the situation. I think Arrowhead should clean up the storyline and the timeline and introduce minor orders for major orders to revolve around the main story and to follow the story that we would consider the top priority. So far, the now major order would probably be the Meridian Singularity, while we could have minor orders in defending the Deep Mantle Forge complex or doing more expeditions into the Gloom to gain understanding of what's going on inside. This would allow players to engage in stories they want and possibly avoid frustration of filler MOs. It could also lead to more level on creek level events where crazy stuff happens. Imagine if, for example, on the bot side, the Deep Mantle Forge is the minor order that Helldivers on the bot front have. We cannot lose this planet, or bots will be able to create some crazy legion that would be unbelievable. So, throughout major order and major order, this minor order constantly is being defended. However, it's through the skin of our teeth, leading to a major order deviation to where we now have to be all on the bot front to make sure that this planet is properly secured. It could be very interesting, and that's what you can do with minor orders, where minor orders do have an impact on the major story. However, it seems that we have gone into this weird movement with the game where we really are just chasing MO success, and rarely ever does past what Purpley had or Malevelon Creek or other planets where it seems that like players were able to actually have a huge impact, like Mort that they talked about. Also, that's another one that just came to mind. These are examples of where the players had direct impact to the story and weren't really just following what the DM or GMs decided, and minor orders might be a way for us to actually introduce that. You would need to rework the Galactic War so that smaller amounts of players could contribute to a war effort and actually complete stuff, but this, as I said, is just one of many ideas you can go along with when addressing the Filler MOs problem. However, Filler MOs, the more and more people talk about it, I think it's kind of a mirage for what's truly bothering the community at the moment. The truth is, Arrowhead seems to be a fan of shadow dropping content, making a big splash to the sandbox and doing rarely any marketing, which can have huge benefits. Omens of Tyranny was as hype as it was, not only because it was an amazing expansion to the game, but because it literally came out of nowhere. However, there is utility to roadmaps. This provides communities excitement buildup for upcoming gameplay features and story developments that we would know are coming. As of the making of this video, the only way to know if stuff is coming is to be on Twitter following the one prominent leaker who drops snippets of leaked content and in development content, which always is going to be a thing because that's the nature of popular media. They always have leakers. However, this often means Arrowhead doesn't have control of the messaging, and expectations and hopes run rampant. And honestly, I am tired of getting my information of future updates from a leak content, which there is other issues I want to address in a longer form video. I think Filler MOs, while real and even more so, can be boring. I think the reality is we as a community, for a lot of us, have done everything, unlocked everything, capped out on samples and currencies, and with no word on what's coming next besides leaks and an ever more prevalence of bugs and performance issues, the community is getting annoyed, rightfully so. I wouldn't mind defending 5 planets from squids personally if my game didn't run at 30 FPS the second I turned to the city that I landed on. However, Arrowhead said they would be addressing all of this and are working on stuff like a weekly stream to talk about upcoming stuff. So I will give them a chance to course correct, and with all that, I think I just have nothing left to say. I hope you all enjoyed the video, and remember to leave a like and comment down below what you think about the Filler MO issue and how would you address it. As well as, if you're looking for Helldivers to play with or want to keep up to date with the channel, join the Discord link down below, the 2nd Liberation Battalion. Before I go, I just want to say a huge thank you to my channel members and coffee supporters who bankroll this channel. And remember guys, be safe and don't drown.